Three, two, one. Hello, guys. Welcome back to a new episode from Premium Podcast. Today we have Lyndon with us. Lyndon, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So, me and Lyndon are here at Dartmouth. We've been friends for a couple of weeks. And, we met a couple of times at dinner, at the gym. He's a pretty buff guy, as you can see. He's all jacked up.
Yeah, thank
So,
you.
Lyndon, tell us about yourself.
So I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. My parents are originally from China and Taiwan.
Yeah.
I'm very into, physical activity. I like combat sports like jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I wrestled in high school. Also been getting into a little bit of Muay Thai.
Interesting.
Yeah. I really like the outdoors. I love to mountain bike, skiing, snowboarding.
Nice.
And then at Dartmouth, I want to pursue economics and mathematical data science.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I got a little sister and 2 dogs. Yeah. And that's my family.
Nice. That's cool. So tell me a bit about your wrestling experience. Where did that come from? I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. So actually, I was first introduced to wrestling in, I want to say 6th grade.
Wow.
So the head coach of our wrestling.
You were in Texas?
Yes, in Texas. The head coach of the entire wrestling program, he ran a program called Alpha Pups. So it's basically teaching all the little kids.
Yeah.
Getting them into wrestling.
Alpha Pups, what a name.
For like middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And so I went to some classes there. They were usually held after school in the high school mat room.
Yeah.
And so it comes around to winter time, and I'm really like, Mom, Dad, like I want to wrestle. And they're like, no, you're going to swim. And my parents have this like very concrete like perception that swimming was going to make me taller.
Really?
Yeah. Because they're like,
weird.
it's going to lengthen your body.
Nice.
So anyways, I did swimming until 10th grade. And finally, in 11th grade, my parents were like, all right, you know what? You can do wrestling. Like, this was also just after I'd started getting into the gym. So I was like getting bigger, and
Nice.
it wasn't really conducive to swimming. So then I was like, you know what? Let's do wrestling. And then, yeah, it was amazing.
Nice.
Like, it was wrestling's the hardest sport I've ever done. But it was also like the greatest team bond that I ever had.
Really?
Yeah. I think especially just at practice was like, it was brutal. Like, 2.5, 3 hours of, you had your live wrestling, your high intensity drilling. And then we had this like killer cardio circuit at the end.
Oh, you did cardio at the end?
Yeah.
Wrestling?
At
That's
the end.
interesting.
Yeah.
Why? Why not at the beginning? Like normal sports?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I mean, part of the cardio was just the wrestling itself.
Yeah.
But I
definitely.
think the thing at the end was just to really like, finish you off.
Nice.
But going through that with like my teammates really like built a bond. And that was like
Interesting.
something that I took away from that.
So I was told that in wrestling they apply a lot of pressure. Like there is constant pressure on each individual to help you improve and stuff like that. And looking at it in comparison to other sports or like martial arts, all of these stuff, how would you say, where does wrestling land? Like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and why wrestling among all of those?
I mean, I started wrestling before I got into like combat. Before I thought like combat sports were cool.
Yeah.
So wrestling was sort of it was kind of by chance the first thing I did. And also like, I feel like wrestling is a lot more common in high school because it's like an actual sport that is taught.
Nice. But if you would go back in years now, which martial arts sports would you pick?
Still wrestling.
Still wrestling. So, yeah.
I think in terms of like the physical and mental demand that wrestling places on you, and obviously other sports are really hard too, but I think it's just enough to where you have that feeling that's like, oh, like this person could really hurt me. So if I don't fight them, I'm going to get hurt. And it's also like, I feel like the physical intensity is just like unlike any other sport. I mean, like after my senior year, when I started doing jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
it was like not that hard. Obviously, like my technique is really shitty.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people could whoop my ass, but
Because it's on the ground, right? You're never
Yeah.
used to do it on the ground.
right. But in terms of like having a good understanding of how to move my body, how to, you know, move my body weight, and also just the cardio, like jiu-jitsu was like easy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. So in wrestling, is it more about the technique, the power? Is it a mix of both? Because in jiu-jitsu, it's all about the technique.
Right.
Like you could be a very weak, skinny guy. Well, not that weak, but like, you know, definitely not that big and jacked and still win by technique. Many of
Exactly.
these do. And especially on the ground. Like, you know, when we wrestle, when we do jiu-jitsu, most of the wrestlers in the team, they just stand. They don't like the ground.
Right.
So what is it about wrestling? Is it like more also techniques? Is it a mix of both?
I think it's like it's 100% both. So what I
Interesting.
mean by that is like in jiu-jitsu, you can't really make up for a lack of technique with strength because
Interesting.
unless you know, there's just like a lot of submissions that you have to know when to do them, like how to do them.
How to get out of them.
Right. But wrestling is like, you have to know that, but you also have to do it with such an intensity that even someone who knows what you're going to do against them can't defend it. And there's this like big concept in wrestling called re-attacking. So basically you shoot a takedown, like you shoot a double leg,
Yeah.
the guy defends, you get up and you immediately attack again. And it's just, if you can do that over and over again, when your opponent gets tired, he's not going to be able to defend against you.
So it's just explosive power with the right technique, the right form, of course.
Right.
Which is just jumping maybe on the double leg. Keep doing that extensively with explosive.
Right.
Interesting. Nice.
And, yeah, I mean, on the ground too, like when you're trying to pin someone, a lot of it is technique. Like you have to know, you know, say you're doing like a half Nelson or you're running an arm.
Sounds good.
Yeah, like different pinning combinations.
Oh, okay.
But a big part of it is really just you're running the guy over. So you need a lot of like
Control.
yeah, like power to do that.
Interesting. And a general question, do you like watch MMA or are you into that?
Yeah, I've been trying to get more into it. But I also don't want to pay
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
$60
it's fair.
to watch
It's
UFC.
fair.
So I like watch it when I can. Yeah.
Nice. So would you say, like from the knowledge that you have right now, if you want to get, for example, I'm talking about like personally you getting into professional fighting, MMA, like street fight, would you go with also wrestling? Do you think wrestling does the job? Like teaches you how to actually defend yourself and attack in a real life situation?
I think there's definitely pros and cons to everything. I think the best thing is to not get into street fights. But like I've never been in a
Yeah,
street like a
thankfully.
fight with someone like that. But yeah, I think wrestling is pretty good. I mean, when you know how to like control your own weight and also control someone else's weight,
That's interesting.
I mean, really, if you can get somebody on the ground, you know, you're in a very advantageous position. Obviously, if someone just knocks you out, then that's whatever.
You're fucked.
Yeah, you're fucked. But yeah, I think also wrestling builds a lot of toughness too. So yeah.
What does that mean? Toughness in like mental toughness or like physical or both? 100% both.
Yeah, both. Again, like physical endurance, and also just not being able to withstand like physical pain a little bit more than maybe the average person to a certain extent.
Being thrown and like slammed to the ground. That's also one thing. Interesting. Sure. What were the tough lessons that you learned or like tough moments? Like how were your trainings going? Like for me, jiu-jitsu, there were moments where I was like always getting submitted by, the older guys and the more experienced guys. And no matter how strong you are, you're gonna, right. The master is the master. You can't, it's hard to win against a black belt. And is it also the same for wrestling? Like if I come and, for example, how much does the weight matter?
The weight matters, I would say a good deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, like if it's, I don't know. I mean, if you take a really, really good wrestler and like maybe someone who's 20, 30 pounds lighter than me, but he's like a lot better than me, he could probably beat me pretty well. But obviously, if it's a huge difference, then it gets to a point where, there's this one kid on our team who I'm pretty good friends with. He's a sophomore now in high school. And he's probably the best wrestler that our program has ever seen.
The Alpha Puppies?
No, in high school.
Oh.
Yeah. But like, he can't take me down because I'll just stand there, and if he tries to take me down, then I pick him up.
Wow.
So, but definitely like within like 20 pounds, 30 pounds, I think if the person is a lot better, then they can still win.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And going back to the question, what were the tough moments in wrestling for you? Like, did you compete?
Yeah, there was a lot of matches and tournaments.
How's the feeling?
It's like really scary. I don't like competing. And not in like the sense that I won't do it, but everyone gets like scared. Yeah. And I would always just like before matches, I would always be like very uneasy, very apprehensive. Like I would be like, dude, like I don't want to do this. Like I'd rather, just be at home or like relaxing or something like that. But then, when you start, you kind of like all your thoughts go away. Yeah. And then it's just like adrenaline rush, and you're just in there, and you're in there until time runs out, or you lose, or the other guy loses, right? Yeah. It's pretty much like you're in there until
something happens,
until you give up or the other guy gives up, or time runs out.
Interesting.
Right? And so I think the feeling after you compete is like one of the greatest feelings that I think anyone can feel. And it's like a sense of accomplishment over, and like you can achieve this through a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I think it's accentuated by like combat sports like that, because it's a very primal feeling that it's like, especially when you win, it's like I held this guy, this guy who was also trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Like I held him down, or, I beat him, right? And it's like, it's a sense of accomplishment not only over the guy that you were wrestling, but over like your own mind and like your own self-doubts,
It's interesting. It's interesting to say, because you're saying that this guy is also like trying to get you, when you use like to
Right.
kill you literally, like to how. So you said you had a very good team and like it's a very nice environment.
Mhm.
How is it for the opponents? And you're saying it's a very good feeling, even if you lose, or like
I mean, even if you lose, I've had many matches where I lost, but I was wrestling someone better than me, and I went out there and I
give it all.
I gave it my all, and even after that, I still feel good because, I did it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. And would you say, like, when you're wrestling and you have your opponent, what do you have in mind? Like, how do you approach the game? Do you have any things from your coach? How does it actually go? How long is the one round?
So a high school match is 6 minutes with 3 2-minute periods. I think generally, you sort of have your game plan. You sort of have your go-to moves, so you'll have like a few go-to moves.
Yeah.
So like
It's like in jiu-jitsu. You just plan it out.
it's like I know I can do this. So like when I wrestled, it was like a high crotch or a double leg.
Yeah.
And those are like very basic moves, but if you practice them a lot, then they're very good moves. And then a lot of it is also like just like feeling it out. You know how like it's kind of the same as when boxers get into the ring and they're like sort of just circling each other, like throwing light punches.
Yeah.
It's kind of like seeing, all right, what does my opponent want to do?
Reading the game.
Like how strong does he feel, stuff like that.
Interesting.
And then another part of it is there are some cases where the positions that you choose are important to deciding like if you win or not. So
What do you mean?
in wrestling, there's 3 positions. So there's top, then there's bottom, and there's neutral. So neutral is when the 2 people start standing up
Yeah.
and they start at the lines. Top is when the guy is like on all fours,
Oh.
like with his hands on the
Yeah.
line, and then you're covering him, like on the side, right? And then bottom is like when you're the guy on the bottom and the guy's covering you.
Interesting.
So in neutral, obviously your objective is to take the guy down and then pin him from there or get back points. But when you're on bottom, you get 1 point for escaping from bottom. So if you stand up and then you break contact, you get 1 point.
Interesting.
So the coaches always make you do bottom because they're like, if you just stand up, it's a free point,
Yeah.
right? So in that case, like the positions can be used smartly to your advantage because basically each period, like after the first period, the ref flips a coin, or it's a coin with green on one side and red on the other side.
Oh.
And because each wrestler is either green or red,
Yeah.
and whichever one it lands on, that wrestler gets to choose which position. Most of the time, they actually defer, which means they let their opponent choose, so that in the second period they get to choose.
Why is that good?
Because after the second period, you know more or less where you stand, and like what you need to do. So
yeah,
like
if you're missing points, you're gonna choose to be on the bottom and like try
and
to
then
escape.
If you're up by a lot, you might choose neutral and just play defense, stuff like that.
Nice, that's interesting. And what about the mental aspect of the game itself?
I mean, it's just very. It's very like, it's so physically tiring, and the mental aspect really comes into play. Like, it's easy if you're a lot better than the kid, and it's the first period, and you're just shooting takedown after takedown. You're like, this is a breeze, right? But when it's the third period and it's a close match and you're on the ground and you have to get up, or you're down by 1 and you have to shoot a takedown to win, the ability to keep going and to keep pushing forward, even after all your muscles are just,
Exhausted.
completely fried and your vision is blurry.
Really?
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. The like ability to just, I think wrestling forms the ability to like push through that.
Endurance.
Yeah. And just not pull the parachute, as my coach says.
Nice.
He would something funny that they would have at wrestling matches was when one of our guys was wrestling.
Yeah.
And he gave up. So like, I mean, the coaches kind of can tell when you give up.
Yeah.
Like if you're on your back and you stop trying to roll over.
Yeah.
And you just lay there. He would have this toy soldier with the little parachute attached, and he would throw it up in the air.
Oh, wow.
And it would like parachute down. Yeah. I mean, I've had like matches where I think this might also be more so like me.
Yeah.
But because I started working out before I started wrestling, I built a lot of muscle that was like just, like aesthetic muscle.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of oxygen. So I would get so gassed. Like cardio has always been my number one like killer.
Yeah. Same.
And then like I've had matches where I get up, I go sit down, my eyes are bloodshot and my face is all red.
Wow.
And then I like have to like throw up or something.
Wow.
But yeah.
It's that like
It's very tiring.
pressure, endurance. This is interesting. It's kind of like fun, and also like the feeling that you get because it's a physical suffering. So when I was talking to Eli, which was the ultramarathon runner we had a few days ago, we were talking about how the physical hardship, and when you're doing a very tough or hard thing, the higher and the more tough, or let's say the more challenging it is physically for you, the better the feeling. And we discussed a thing called you will never regret a workout, you will never regret a game, you will never regret going there and trying. And as you said, once you start, there's kind of no going back. Like you can't just say, hey, I'm done, I'm tired, right? It's like It's hard to do that too. So, but the interesting thing is that I didn't know it takes like that much energy. Like it's definitely tiring, but like when you're saying that you want to vomit and you're saying like blurry.
Yeah.
Is it a sport where people usually get injured or what?
I mean,
you can say yes.
I would say
let's put it that way.
The official answer is if you're safe about practice, no. But my answer is, yeah.
So more than jiu-jitsu or less?
Well, jiu-jitsu is different because I feel like jiu-jitsu is often
we're very careful.
more controlled, right? But also like the submissions are literally designed to,
injure you,
break your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is why all the guys there are kind of nice or careful.
Right.
Except the wrestlers. Like I always find for real. It's like
David.
Like we started, just also he's a good guy. Like he does jiu-jitsu very well, but he doesn't like it when I go like on the ground. So I have always to stand up and I have to watch him kick my ass because he can just lift me up in there, and I kind of need to figure out what to do because I haven't wrestled. But the funny thing is that it's sort of, it gives you this thing that when someone like just jumps your like double legs, does the double leg for you, it really gives me like that feeling that shit, I want to do that too. Like when you get up, it's like I want to do that now. Like you want to try, you want to do more than anything else. And so, for example, in boxing, did you try boxing before? Like an attack sport or something like that?
Not really. I was doing before I came here at the like jiu-jitsu gym I went to, they also had Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So I would go a couple times a week, but nothing really serious.
Interesting. Oh, it's part of the Muay Thai, right? Like you.
Yeah.
How long did you do Muay Thai for?
Like a few months.
Interesting.
I didn't do like hard sparring. It was always
Technique.
like technical sparring, and then technique, like drills, and then like hitting the bag. But
And would you say in wrestling, is it more about drills or sparring? Because, for example, I know in jiu-jitsu, it's more about drills. Like, it's much better if we do just drills 70% of the workout, maybe like 60, 70, and the rest is sparring. But drill is definitely more important. Is that the same for wrestling?
yeah, I would say drilling is more important. I think for both, in my opinion, for both jiu-jitsu and wrestling, going live is more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
But drilling is very important. And actually, like people do in jiu-jitsu, they do like flow rolling.
Yeah.
You do that in wrestling too, like slow-paced wrestling where it's just I do a move, then you do a move, then I do a move, then you do.
Interesting. That's a flow. You know what? I was like my coach showed me something, 2 workouts like 2 weeks ago, and it's called chess jiu-jitsu, which is I do one move on you, I stop, and I say out loud what I'm gonna do, and you return it back. So for example, I'm gonna grab you by the arm, and then you're gonna say I'm gonna do one under her, and then we start rolling, and it helps you like think, what am I gonna do and what to do in that position. And you like, okay, I will do this, and you'll see the coach doing that, and like, oh shit, I fucked up. I should have done something else, and it's helpful. So yeah, that's it when it comes to all of the technique and stuff. Nice. What about the failures and wins that you had? How did that affect your life? Did wrestling really have did it have an impact on your life, or was it just like a sport or something you just love to do? How deep was it for you?
I think in terms of like how serious I was about it, I think it's kind of weird. I was very serious about like practicing and getting better, and like showing up for the team, wrestling at the matches, at the tournaments. But I feel like winning and losing never like affected me that much. I mean, there was kids on the team where when they lost, they would take their headgear off and throw it against the wall, and then the coach would get mad at them. But like when I won, I was happy, obviously. And then when I lost, it was more of like, it was not. I think the main reason why I never got that sad was because I knew that I did like what I could.
Nice.
And obviously when you go back and you look at it, you're like, okay, I could have done this better and this better. But I think my effort was always 100%.
Nice.
So in that sense, I wasn't like ashamed to lose or anything. But also, the kids that got really upset when they lost, they were also more serious about it than I was.
Yeah.
Like they always were looking at like rankings and like seedings, and I was like,
very competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. But yeah.
Interesting.
But I think it affected my life in the way that it was a really big time commitment. Like it was like after school every day, then you have
every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then you have matches like 1 to 3 times a week. And then like on the weekends you have tournaments. So you like go away for the whole day. And then so that was like, it was like a big commitment. So it was something that I wanted to put my time into and to get better at. And it was also very physically taxing on my body. Like I would always be like tired or just physically fatigued. And then I also couldn't work. I didn't really lift weights during then because I didn't really have the time or the time to recover. So
that's interesting. Yeah, recovery is definitely important. And I think sports like this builds so much discipline, and it teaches you a lot also about love. Like when you're saying that it taught you how to put 100% effort and all of the stuff, and this is how you can like sleep at night knowing that okay, I gave it all.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you find that in the gym, like the workouts?
Yeah, I think for the gym, I mean, it's never been that hard for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always enjoyed it greatly, so I think giving my like full effort in the gym is not like that mentally challenging for me. But in like wrestling, I really had to like push myself.
Interesting. Cool. Right. I also wanted to ask you if you're comfortable talking about it, like I know also you are now in the ROTC, right?
Yeah.
How do you spell that? How do you call that? ROTC? Can you?
Yeah. People say ROTC. Yeah.
ROTC. Cool. So I really am interested in that because when I met you and you first like you told me about that, I was like, yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So tell me about that because I think it's very interesting.
Actually, surprisingly, I don't have any family that was like in the military or anything, and I wasn't really thinking about it. But when I was in 12th grade, I was thinking about applying to West Point.
What's that?
It's the United States Army Academy.
Nice.
But it's like super serious. And then I was like, I want to enjoy my college life not do that. And then the head recruiter, so after I got into Dartmouth, the head recruiter for the like New Hampshire area ROTC called me on the phone and
Oh wow.
he was like, do you want to apply for a scholarship for ROTC? And my parents are very of the mindset that if you are presented with the opportunity, you should just take it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to stick with it, but you should just try it out.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah. So I applied. I submitted my testing scores, and then there was a couple essays, and then I had to do a physical fitness test.
How was that? Was it easy or like?
It was easy. It was, I think I got 100. It was a 6.5 minute mile, like 50 sit-ups in a minute, and then like 50 push-ups in a minute. So it was like not that hard. And then I got it, and I got the 4-year, which is like all 4 years they pay for your tuition for school. So
Wait, they pay for everything?
not everything, just the tuition.
Tuition.
So I still have to pay for
Rent, food.
room and board and food.
Nice.
And then I was like, you know what? Might as well try it out. I haven't like always really been like super into the military,
Yeah.
but I've always been very respectful of it. Like like I admire
Yeah.
people who are in service. And so far it's been really fun, and it's been pretty great. So
That's nice. Well, I guess I can say thank you for your service. Is that right? Or not yet?
not yet.
Not yet. All right. So isn't the ROTC like you join right now, you do the club thing, and
Yeah.
then you enlist?
So
How does it work?
for joining, at least for as far as I know, for the Army, there's enlisting and then there's being an officer. So enlisted is like if you just go and join the Army and then you start out as a private and then
As a private what? Like privately, individually enlisting?
no, that's called the rank. The rank is called private.
Yeah, I'm not familiar
No,
at all
yeah,
with this
you're
stuff.
good. And that's like when you enlist, you should bring Tate Meyer. You know the guy I'm always with.
Yeah.
You should bring him on here because he can really explain the military
Okay,
stuff to you.
I will.
But so the enlisted people are more like the soldiers in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm getting this right 100%, but there's like different ranks, right? So you
Okay.
go like private, then there's like specialist.
Yeah. Is the officer one of them?
No, so the officer ranks are completely different. So that's what ROTC does. Is so you go to college for 4 years and you do ROTC, and then when you join the Army, you join as a second lieutenant. So that is the lowest officer rank. So the officers are in charge.
Oh,
Generally,
so the officer is a higher rank than the privates and the.
yeah. Well, technically, officers are higher than all the enlisted ranks, but they're like very high enlisted ranks, like sergeants, sergeant majors, stuff like that, and like technically officers are above them,
Yeah.
but they're also not.
Yeah.
Like
you got it.
culture-wise, right? Because
So you will finish as an officer.
yes, so then I have to do 4 years of military service if I do active duty.
4 years.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I'll be a second lieutenant, and then I'll probably get promoted to a first lieutenant, and then probably I'll leave probably right before I get promoted to captain. That's generally like how the timetable is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So 4 years you're just there. You're like your whole day is just invested in the army, right? But you
Yeah.
already do the training. What does it look like? Do you know?
You mean like once you get
Yeah,
there?
yeah, like the service.
So a second lieutenant is in charge of a platoon. Let me think if I'm getting this right. And a platoon is made up of a few companies,
Oh,
and then a company is made up of a few, like I think 3 to 5 squads,
yeah.
and a squad is 9 people.
Wow.
So you're in charge of,
Yeah, a lot of people.
yeah.
Some like around maybe 50, 60.
Wait, actually, I think hold on. Let me check.
Interesting.
I may have gotten that wrong.
It's actually interesting because I heard that, I think you were the one who told me that after college, like, doesn't matter if you do ROTC or not, you can just become an officer and
Yeah.
it takes more brutal training. What do you have?
Sorry, I got it wrong. Actually, a platoon is made up of 3 to 4 squads,
Oh,
and each squad is like 9 people.
nice.
So you're in charge of like, 40-ish people,
Nice.
and you're responsible for, you're like their commanding officer. So you're in charge of, making sure they have all their stuff.
Oh, wait, so you're not the one who does the trainings for them? Like,
Like physical training?
yeah.
I mean, my understanding is that like you can do like their physical training plan for them and like lead the physical trainings, but
But what does that require you? Like, I think, like, if you want to do that, you would have to put under much harder training, right?
not really.
No?
Do you mean like just working out?
No. I mean, like for example, I know very extreme, but like buds, for example, or like
Oh,
the physical tests and all the stuff. Hell weeks.
I'm not
the shit
sure,
that I
but
know, like.
but like buds and stuff like Navy SEAL training, those are like specific like camps / schools that you go to. So like there's like Ranger School,
Yeah.
and they'll like send you there to like do the specific like specialized training. But no, like a second lieutenant wouldn't like do those.
Yeah.
things.
Cool. And you're normal army, right?
Yeah.
So there's navies, there's Air Force, and
There's Army.
that's it, the 3.
Well, there's also Marines, which I
It's
guess are
called-
technically part of Navy.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's also Space Force,
Yeah.
but I don't think Space Force does ROTC.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
Do you actually know people from Space Force? It's like it looks very
No.
sounds very like scary. Like people just sending stuff.
No,
out there.
I just see like videos about Space Force on Instagram.
And what's the like? What is it about?
I don't know.
No,
Like,
I mean like what's the image that they try to draw? Like in the Navy, for example, the SEALs, they try to do that they're the toughest people and all the stuff. What's the space trying to?
Oh, I usually just see videos of people making fun of it.
Oh,
Like,
so it's very secretive, kind of.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about it. So.
Yeah, cool, interesting. And how is it going for you in the ROTC? Like, how is it your experience so far?
It's a lot of fun.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's pretty. It's like it's honestly it's not that big of a time commitment. It's just like the early morning.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
You wake up at
it's hard sometimes, but
when do you start your day?
usually for PT I wake up at 6:20.
What's PT? Physical training?
Physical training.
Okay.
And then for lab,
What's
which
lab?
is like lab is like the practical application of like the skill we just learned.
Okay.
So, for example, tomorrow we're doing land navigation again, because we're really bad at it. So
What do you do in land navigation?
there's like they have like a it's down by Boston Lot. I don't know. No,
Wow.
not in Boston.
Oh,
It's just called Boston Lot.
Oh.
But there's like a little like forest area.
yeah.
They have like little markers, all like planted, and then they give you the coordinates, and you're supposed to, the coordinates, I guess, and then you're supposed to go find it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that starts at 6:30, so I usually wake up at 5:50, because they want you to be 10 minutes early for everything,
Yeah.
even though like
So it's not that tough. Like it's not like that strict in the ROTC.
not really.
Does it depend on where you are and who's your?
Yeah, definitely. I think at some schools, I think actually more like down in the South,
Yeah.
a lot of schools are very serious about ROTC. But here, like they're serious, but they're more chill.
Yeah.
And also, we have a very small program. So, yeah.
Interesting. And do you guys do the stuff that like if you now you're 18 or 19?
I'm 18.
18. So if you're now 18 and you decide to join the army, now the ROTC, like you decide to enlist, would you learn the same stuff that you're learning right now, or?
Yeah. I mean, the basic stuff, yeah. But ROTC is different in that it more so wants to teach you about how to lead like a group of soldiers instead of to be the soldier.
Because you need to be an officer, right?
Right. So, I mean, there's like less. Obviously, if you're enlisted, you'll like learn the same skills like land navigation. You'll have to do like physical tests, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in ROTC, there's a lot less emphasis on like the combat and more emphasis on like leading the combat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like planning it out.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And what's the? So now you don't do guns, you don't do all of this stuff. You just train, and when you finish, like in the 4 years service,
Yeah.
you don't have much. Like you don't have lots of additional training, right? You just go there and apply what you learned so far in the past 4 years.
Yeah. I think there's a right after you get out of college, like when you're going, I think there's like another specialized like officer training for like, I don't know however long it is, like a few months or something. And then you get your like unit, and then you're just working. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what are your plans regarding that? So again, it's 4 years just in the army. You don't do much more outside that. Like, can you work? Can you?
I mean, it's like your full-time job.
All right.
There's a lot of different branches in the army.
4 years. Isn't it 3?
No, it's 4. You can do reserves, so that's 8 years.
Wow.
But the time commitment is very little.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's 1 weekend every month.
Yeah.
And then like a couple weeks out of the summer,
Yeah.
you have to go to the base and like do training. So in that case, you still get paid, just a lot less.
Yeah.
And then you would work a normal job outside of that.
Interesting.
But for active duty, like being an officer, like that's your job.
And how would you say it's like, how easy is it to get promoted and, to actually get a career out of it? Because 4 years is a good time. And
Yeah.
like, what are your expectations from this period?
I am more so just probably gonna do the 4 years and then get out.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a pretty good experience to have like on your resume, just like the leadership aspect of it, like there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of 26-year-olds who were in charge of like 50 guys,
Yeah.
For their job. So I think like that is a big aspect of it. I also want to go into maybe cyber security or
Interesting.
the finance division.
There's something like that? Finance division.
They just do like the budgeting and stuff for the Army.
Interesting.
But the Army has a lot of different branches.
Yeah.
And some people want to go into like combat branches like infantry.
Yeah.
But I more so want to just do something that will be more applicable to my career.
Mm-hmm.
So since I want to do like data science, I was thinking maybe like cybersecurity.
That's cool.
But yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think Army is an invaluable experience in the US. But I understand that it's not very admired here among people.
I think, I guess I feel like people have more so now than like in the past, but people have like negative views of the Army. And I can kind of see why. The U.S. does spend like a lot of money on the military.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times people just, they'll like see it and they're like, oh, like, why do we need this? Like, and stuff like that. And, the Army is not always like 100% right in everything they do.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of like times where, we were fighting people and like we weren't always in the right. But I think that's why there's sort of a negative perception sometimes. But I think generally people still have like respect for like the military.
No, I don't mean like and respect as in like admire as they love the military. I just think that it's not so common here among people to. It's like looked at as something like, why would you do that? It's like,
oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Like, I mean, the reality is like you're not gonna make a lot of money if you're a career like Army guy or military guy. I mean, even like as you go up in rank, the increase in your pay grade doesn't really increase that much. I mean, I think the real value you get is from like the benefits.
Oh.
Like you get like the healthcare benefits, like housing. And then after you've been in the Army for 20 years, or wait.
Let's say 20 years, yeah.
No, it's after you've been in the Army for like a good amount of time.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how long. You get a pension. So basically after you retire, you get a percentage of what you would have made without working. Right?
Interesting.
But I think the Army is sometimes seen as something like you do it if you can't do anything else.
But I actually really don't agree. Like,
really?
I think it gives so much experience. It builds character, especially if you're like in like places where you have to get so uncomfortable. Because as I'm like getting more experience living here, I think many people have it too easy life. And like nowhere to judge, but like I think the Army certainly gives you a good experience or a good taste of what it feels like to need to do your own shit by your own hands. Although I know that the Army, it has a lot of propaganda in a way that they always try to like portray themselves as, yeah, let's fucking go, we're the Army, we're the cool, all of this hype shit.
Right.
And you see all of these videos on the social media platforms and everything. And I haven't, I've heard that very recently is that the Army would give free costumes and like free Army clothes, all the stuff and like gear and stuff like this for Hollywood movies when they're trying to make a movie about the US Army that will make them look better
Oh,
will
really?
Make, yeah,
didn't
they
know
will
that.
supply free stuff. So I was like, damn, like
Yeah.
that's something. US is very good at doing some propagandas. And
Well-
yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, it's very ingrained in like Hollywood and like
Rambo type of shit, you know?
like super cool war movies and stuff like that.
But
Yeah,
do you
that-
feel the hype when you go like, for example, I know it's the ROTC, it's not like the ROTC is not that big, but would you feel like, are you happy there? Or are you just like, I'm just trying to do it, I'm just trying to, get it done?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say like, I think it's very interesting.
Hmm.
And like I think it's a good use of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are sometimes I wish I wasn't doing it, just because I'd be like, oh, I have to
Wake up.
get up and we're doing a 6-mile ruck or something, and it's like, bro, like I'd rather just sleep. But most of the time, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. Would you have? Why didn't you join the academy? Like, what made you take that decision?
I think, to be honest, I wanted to. I didn't want that like experience for college. I think it would have been like, I think I could have done it,
Yeah.
but obviously it's way more strict. It's a lot harder than just doing ROTC, and I really wanted like a quote unquote normal college
Yeah.
experience. So I just,
And how do you like it here so far?
I love it.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
Dartmouth is like great. I think it's a really great fit for me because I've always enjoyed doing stuff outside, like in the
Nice.
outdoors.
Yeah, coming from Texas, I can imagine.
Yeah, and then I've always liked the cold weather, surprisingly.
But you don't have that much cold
No,
in Texas,
exactly.
don't you?
So I was like, I have to get out of Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. How is Texas?
It's great.
What's the hesitation for?
I don't know. I think I like a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah.
Like the culture is really great.
The culture?
Yeah, the culture. Like people are very nice in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
generally. I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on hospitality, and like a big culture shock that I had was one time when I went up to New York for like vacation.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know, people, it's like in New York, it's like people don't have time for you,
Yeah.
right? But in Texas, people will,
Make time for you.
yeah. Like if you stop to have a conversation with someone on the street, like they'll talk to you and stuff like that. And then the food is great, especially in Houston, because Houston is very diverse.
Nice.
So Houston has like really good restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I also do enjoy that Texas has like pretty lax laws around some stuff. I mean, like I do, like I like to shoot sometimes,
Yeah, you do.
and in some other places, like I wouldn't really be able to do it.
I heard that. I think I asked you that before. I heard that you have vending machines for ammos. Is that right?
No, that's
Oh
not
no.
true. But yeah, like I hear some of my friends from California.
Yeah.
They talk about like their crazy gun laws in
Yeah,
California. It's like
I love California.
you can't have
Normal.
a magazine with more than 10 rounds in it, or you can't have on a rifle, like there's a charging handle
Yeah.
to like release the bolt carrier. You can't have it be ambidextrous because that would make it too easy to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
So some stuff is just like, I'm glad that I don't have to deal with it.
Is it safe in Texas though?
Yeah.
Really?
I think it's pretty safe.
Like if you walk around and you see someone with a freaking gun, And he just
That's. I
would
mean,
you see that?
at least in Houston,
Yeah.
that's like very rare.
Oh, really?
People.
So
I mean,
is it very known for shooting and all this stuff and guns and
I mean, there's definitely a lot of people who own guns,
yeah.
but I think the amount of people that actually carry
Yeah.
is a lot lower than people play it up to be.
Yeah.
Like people always talk about like, oh, like, what if I walk into a store and there's just everyone has a gun?
Yeah.
And it's like that doesn't happen. Like, I can probably count like the amount of times I've seen someone with an open carry gun like on my hand. Like it's only happened like maybe once or twice.
Wow.
So
Is it the old Texas though that everyone used to own a gun and just like wander around holding it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it also could be because I live in the city. I'm sure, like in more rural Texas, there's a lot of people that, carry.
Just have it.
Yeah,
I think it's not bad as long as your people like are hospitality and all this stuff. I think it's very legitimate for anything.
yeah,
But as long as people know how to use it,
yeah.
it's interesting.
I've never been.
How easy is it to buy a gun in Texas?
I mean, it's pretty easy, I would say. Like, if you're older than 18, or I guess if you want to be able to buy handguns and rifles and shotguns, you have to be 21 or older.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like 21 or older, you can go into a store.
Just buy anything.
You can say, I want to buy this shotgun. Obviously, there's like regulations on like how small it can be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of regulations around rifles and like the barrel length and stuff like that. So you can't just go buy like an unregulated firearm.
Yeah.
But
Do they do back checks?
yeah, so basically you gotta give them ID and they'll do like a background check.
How do they do that? Like, is it like criminal records?
Yeah, it's like criminal record. They make you like fill out a form. And then a lot of times it's actually like kind of random, but it can go the way where like you can take the gun home that day if like everything is good. And sometimes you'll have to they'll like put you on hold. So you have to like wait a couple weeks or like maybe a few days before you're like good to go. And then you can go pick it up.
Cool.
But yeah, overall it's not that hard to get one.
Nice. What are the interesting stories you have about Texas? Is it like a wild place to live in, or is it like a just chill place, very calm? Do you see weird stuff?
It's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, there hasn't really been. I haven't really seen anything crazy. I will say though that in rural Texas, there's a lot of like people's like the stereotypes of the ranches, and it's like do not trespass, or we'll like shoot you. Like that is true.
Oh wow.
And like, I mean, people are very protective of their property, and especially out there, you have to be really careful about where you are. Like just in the sense that like if you're just walking randomly around and you accidentally walk onto someone's property, like technically they can just shoot you.
Wow.
Which is like kind of scary to think about. I mean, I feel like most people wouldn't do that. Like they'd like give you a warning and be like, this is my property, get off. But they can. And
legally.
So, yeah. I think, yeah. So it's like up to you to like make sure you're not trespassing on someone's lawn or something.
Wow. Cool.
But like in Houston, Houston is actually a relatively liberal city, just because it's like it's a really big city. So it's not really like crazy like Texas or anything.
Would you say Texas generally as a state is a very one of the best to live in? How would you compare it with New Hampshire, for example? Because I have a friend who's really like obsessed with Texas. He's like want to study there, want to relocate there. He thinks it's the best like state in the U.S. Well,
Yeah, I think Texas is a great place to live.
Yeah.
In terms of like taxes and stuff, it's also very like it's relatively cheap to live in Texas.
Really? Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Especially if you live outside the city, you can get like very big, nice houses for like, you know, around $1 million, under $1 million. Where in like other cities, other places like, you know, maybe California,
New York.
It's like
Those places are
you're
fucked
paying
up.
$1 million for like a little box.
New York is fucking crazy, man. It's
Yeah.
like insane. Like you pay a ton of shit of money just to sleep on, like in a room that is much smaller than this one.
Right, exactly.
It's insane.
So my general stance is like, I think after I'm older, I would probably want to live maybe in Texas.
Yeah.
Or maybe in some other place like up in the north where I can just like chill and be in be in nature.
Nice.
But maybe like when I'm young, I would want to work in like a big city,
Like New York.
like New York or Boston.
I hate Boston, man. For some reason I went there, it was like
You don't like Boston?
no.
Dude, I
No,
love
it was
Boston.
so. My experience there was so bad. Like I was like, I'm never going back. Like some places I went there, I was like, shit, what the fuck? That's a shithole.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really
And
interesting.
I was talking with my friend. He was like, no, Boston is one of the best cities. I was like, really? Like how? Why? No hate on Boston, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. My experience there was a bit like, you know, it's you're lost in a very big place and it's not nice. You know, it's not.
Yeah. I think Boston has really good food. Like, did you have some lobster while you were there?
No, I didn't.
No?
But we were in the like Cambridge, MIT area, all this stuff.
Okay.
That place, and according to my friend, this is the shittiest place. But like that there wasn't the nicest thing. But I can imagine, like I saw some beautiful stuff, but the same like overall, my rating wasn't that. Like it's not that clean. It's not that people are in there. It's not that nice. I think I prefer much New Hampshire. The nature here is amazing. Like wherever you look, there's something beautiful. You know.
Yeah. The nature is very.
Plays
It's
a
like
part.
great here.
Yeah. And I come from a city where I had mountains and like sea and all of this stuff in one place. So kind of, you know, I have some high standards regarding nature.
Yeah.
But we don't have rivers. We don't have like stuff like this. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. I've always really liked Boston. I guess maybe in my like Texas mind,
Yeah.
I like kind of idolize like Northeast, like the Northeast, especially like Boston, that area, because I think it's like, oh, you know, the winters must be super cool and like really cold, and it's snowing.
Well, you have super cold. Like it gets super,
yeah.
super fucking cold.
I'm already getting that here.
Yeah.
But also like the historic aspect, because like
Yeah.
Boston, Massachusetts was like one of the first states.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's culturally richer than other states. That's
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah,
That's nice. All right.
yeah. That's also why Texas is one of the best states, because Texas has a very unique culture, because Texas is the only state that used to be its own country. Because so basically, Texas was a part of Mexico, and Mexico was a part of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So in when was this? I'm gonna get my history wrong, but anyways, Spain was like had like conquered like all of like Mexico and
Yeah.
like that area, and then so after Mexico fought for their independence from Spain,
Yeah.
then Texas fought for their independence from Mexico, and then Texas was its own country, and then the United States was like, "Oh, do you want to like join us?" And Texas was like, "Yeah, sure."
Come.
So that's why, I think the Texas flag is the only flag that's supposed to be like flown at the same level as the United States flag, and all the other state flags are supposed to be like slightly under it.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you have your self pride as a
Yeah,
Texas
exactly.
guy.
Yeah.
What do you call a guy from Texas? Like Texasian?
Texan?
Texan?
Yeah.
That's a nice one. You're a Texan,
Yeah.
right? Cool. What do you think with the elections and all this stuff, like with the border, everything happening? How's it there? Is it getting more wild or like getting chill?
Actually, I don't really know. Recently, Texas is like more purple
Yeah.
than red, actually, because like if you know about Austin, Austin is like very liberal, and I think it was like a couple years or a few years ago, like a lot of Californians moved to Austin,
That's
and
right.
Californians, like the majority of them are probably like liberal.
Yeah.
And then so everyone in Austin is liberal. And so like Texas, which is supposed to be a very conservative state, is actually more like, it's more like
In the middle.
in the middle now.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still probably like red,
Yeah.
but it's like less so than
Getting
it used to be.
blue slowly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Say about that then.
Yeah.
If you have anything to add, anything to, that's right.
Not really.
Not
It's
really.
been really great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
man.
You really like picked my brain about like the wrestling and stuff.
Yeah, just, talking random stuff. I really, as I told you, it's like, I think those stuff are very interesting and people should hear about it. So, right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We had with us Lyndon, a great guy, a Texan,
Yeah.
a wrestler, and future Marine, or what are you going to be?
Army.
Army, just Army, future Army.
Officer.
You said.
Yeah.
Oh, future officer. Nice. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
Cool, man.
That was good. That was great.
How did you feel?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, that was like, it felt so professional. I was like,
Really?
I'm on a podcast.